Welcome to WebStylePress. If you are new here, consider subscribing and hit bell icon. You can place any element anywhere in web page by positioning it via CSS. What I just said seems straightforward, but it's not. There is a lot more to CSS positions. CSS property position can be static, relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. Static is kinda normal and kinda no position, so no rocket science there. You will use it to cancel absolute position or fixed position in media query for small devices. In most cases, static positioned elements are not affected by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. Relative position serves as a container or wrapper for absolute positioned elements. Wherever you will see absolute positioned element, it will need a relative positioned element for reference. Relative positioned element will be outer element, and inside it there will be absolute positioned element. Relative positioned elements are affected by the top, bottom, left, and right properties. You can apply top, bottom, left, and right properties to a relative positioned element. Absolute position looks a relative reference to position itself. It is positioned relative to nearest outer element that is positioned relative. Absolute positioned elements are affected by top, bottom, left, and right properties. Fixed position is fixed at web page and it's not bound by any relative position. Its position is relative to viewport and it always stays in the same place even if the page is scrolled down or up. You place an element at fixed position and it will stick there and won't be affected by a page scroll. Sticky position is positioned based on user's scroll position. If page top will hit sticky positioned element, sticky element will stick to top of page and scroll with it. A sticky element toggles between relative and fixed positions depending on the scroll position. It is positioned relative until a given offset position is met in the viewport. Then it sticks in place like position fixed. A sticky element needs top property like top 0. This is our standard HTML page. Custom.css is linked with it. Font Awesome and Twitter Bootstrap is also linked via CDN. Let's create our HTML's structure. We will need a wrapper and box. Let's take an icon also. And we will need an element at sticky position. So we have got elements with class wrapper, box, call, and stick. Let's write our CSS. For body, I will take extra height for page to be able to scroll. This is output for our HTML. Let's position icon at the bottom. Position fixed. Right 20 pixels, bottom 20 pixels. Save, refresh, and as you can see, our icon is at the bottom and it is fixed. I am scrolling the page, but it is at the same position. We can position it at the top. Instead of bottom, we can use top. And now it is at the top. If we scroll page, element will not change its position. This is fixed position behavior, and fixed position will not respect a relative position. Fixed position has no boundaries. Let's style our box. Absolute, left 0 and top 0. Save, and this is our box at position absolute. This box is at absolute position. It's got an outer div with class wrapper, and wrapper itself is in container div, but box seems to be outside of container. That is because it has absolute position. It's sticking at the top because it has no outer relative position or reference. Let's bound it and style its outer element wrapper. We just have to position it and give it a relative position. Now it's like this. Now the box is inside wrapper. Let's give it some height. This is better now. So this box is at position absolute. It has got outer div that has got position relative. If I remove position relative from outer div, box becomes free. But when wrapper will have position relative, box that has position absolute will respect outer div that has position relative. Now you can move box inside this wrapper. It will be positioned according to its outer wrapper with position relative. Now let's see how sticky position works. Top is needed in this case, otherwise sticky element won't stick to top. Now if I will scroll this page, sticky element on hitting top of page should stick to top, but it is not. So we'll have to move sticky element out of the container. It was inside container. Container is coming from Twitter Bootstrap. What if I use a separate container div for this sticky element? It will not stick in container. It will also not work in this scenario. But if we use sticky element separately, then it will stick to top. And then we have got Z index. For call icon, I can use Z index 10. And it will be at the top. Let's move it to bottom. So this is relative position and this is absolute. This is sticky and this icon has fixed position. When we've got relative positioned element, it will bound inner absolute positioned element. Now inner absolute positioned element will respect relative positioned element's boundaries. If you use absolute position, it will need its outer relative positioned element for reference. If you are positioning an element relative to an outer element, use absolute position. If you want to stick an element at top or bottom of full page at fixed position, then use fixed position, as we have done for this icon. If you want to stick element at top when page scrolls to that element, use sticky position. Sticky position will accept top value but won't accept left or right value. As you see here, left and right have no effect here at this sticky element. It can take margin left and margin right though. Positions turn elements into kind of a layer that can float without occupying space. And also, when you use positions such as relative and absolute and fixed, Do not use CSS margin with it. Use left, right, top or bottom CSS properties to move it. This is very important. You will look amateur if you will use margins with CSS positions. CSS positions go great with left, right, top and bottom CSS properties. Another important thing is z-index. Z-index allows positioned elements to overlap each other. Consider layers at top of each other. You can place elements on top of other elements. Use z-index 1, 2, 3 or whatever to define their order. Bigger the number, higher the order. Let me explain. So here we have got box. Let's place box 2 here. And this is our box 2. Z-index 1. And for box 2, z-index will be 2. Its background color will be different. And then let's move it 20 pixels from left and 20 pixels from top. Refresh. And here is box 2. And it is at top of box. And here is box 3. Let's move it further. Let's change its color. And let's change its order 3. If I change its order to 1, now it's behind box 2. This is how z-index works. CSS position is very important subject. I encourage you to practice it. It's most common technique used in styling web pages. So this was brief but important overview of CSS positions that I want you to master because it's important concept. During front-end interview questions, I ask applicants about CSS positions. You might get questions like, what is difference between absolute, relative and fixed CSS positions? Okay, give this video a like, subscribe to channel and press bell icon. Stay tuned and I will see you in the next video.